Welcome to my channel. When Michael Jackson died in 2009 at age 50, the world was in shock. This was one of the biggest stars in history, a legend who'd sold over 400 million records worldwide. But despite his fame, fortune, and unbelievable talent, Michael's personal life had become increasingly troubled. And when he passed away suddenly from an overdose of the anesthetic propofol, fans were left wondering if there were any final messages hidden within his work. Some believe that Michael hid secret clues in his music videos, while others say that the message was right there in front of us all along. So today, we're going to take a look at the final performance of Michael Jackson and try to find out what he might have been trying to tell us. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a fascinating video. Now, let's go back to the beginning and see how Michael Jackson became the king of pop. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958 in Gary, Indiana, USA. He was the seventh child of the Jackson family. His father, Joseph Walter Jackson, worked as a steel mill laborer and part-time musician, and his mother, Catherine Esther, was a devout Jehovah's Witness. From a very young age, it was clear that Michael was different from his brothers and sisters. While the other kids were still figuring out their place in the world, Michael knew he wanted to be a performer. When he was just 5 years old, he began taking dance lessons, and by the time he was 6, he was already a proficient tap dancer. But it wasn't long before Michael's talent caught the attention of outsiders. In 1964, he made his first public appearance as part of a local talent show, and the crowd went wild. By the end of the decade, Michael and some of his brothers had formed a band called the Jackson 5. They started off by performing at local events, but quickly gained a reputation as one of the best bands around. Before long, they were being booked for shows all over the country. In 1975, the Jackson 5 were offered a chance to perform in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was their big break, and they were all set to make it big time. But there was one problem. Their manager, their father, didn't want them to go. He thought that Vegas was full of temptation, and he didn't think that his boys were ready for that kind of lifestyle. But the boys begged him to let them go, and eventually he relented. When the Jackson 5 arrived in Vegas, they were met with more temptations than they could have ever imagined. There were parties, drugs, alcohol, everything that their father had warned them about. But the boys were having too much fun to care. They partied hard and they slept late. They forgot all about their responsibilities, and soon their music began to suffer. Their albums didn't sell as well, and their concerts were poorly attended. The Jackson 5 were a has-been before they even had a chance to get started. Devastated and disillusioned, the Jackson 5 decided to go their separate ways. Michael, the youngest of the group, was only 17 years old when he went solo. With no one to hold him back anymore, Michael was free to pursue his own interests and develop his unique style of music. But little did he know that this newfound freedom would come at a cost. As Michael grew older, he became more and more eccentric. He developed an obsession with plastic surgery, and over the years, his face was gradually transformed. He also began to wear masks in public, which only fueled rumors that he was hiding his identity. But beneath the mask, Michael was still the same talented musician he had always been. And with the release of his album Thriller, he proved that he didn't need his brothers to succeed. Thriller became the best-selling album of all time and cemented Michael Jackson's status as the king of pop. Throughout the 1980s, Michael continued to release hit after hit. He performed at charity events, he starred in movies, and he became a fashion icon. But all the while, his personal life was falling apart. Michael was struggling with addiction, and he was constantly surrounded by people who wanted something from him. In 1982, Michael married Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis, but the relationship was doomed from the start. They had no chemistry, and after just 2 years, they were divorced. As the 1980s drew to a close, Michael's personal problems began to catch up with him. He was arrested for shoplifting, and he was investigated for allegedly making a threatening phone call. But despite all the scandal, Michael's music career continued to thrive. He released the album Dangerous in 1991, which spawned 4 hit singles. Then in 1993, Michael shocked the world when he married a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler. Allegedly, the wedding was performed by Elvis Presley's former wife, Priscilla Presley. Michael claimed that Jordan was 16 at the time, but many people doubted this story. Nevertheless, the marriage lasted only 3 months before being annulled. In the late 1990s, Michael retreated from the public eye. He bought a ranch in California where he lived with his 3 children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket. But Michael's problems were far from over. In 2003, he was accused of molesting a teenage boy, and although the charges were eventually dropped, his reputation was forever tarnished. Over the next few years, Michael became increasingly reclusive, and he rarely gave interviews. Then in 2009, tragedy struck. On June 25th, Michael Jackson was found unresponsive at his home in Los Angeles. Despite the efforts of paramedics, he was pronounced dead at the age of 50. The cause of death was later determined to be acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication. In other words, Michael Jackson died from an overdose of the anesthetic propofol and sedative benzodiazepines. Now that we know how Michael Jackson died, let's take a look at some of the theories surrounding his death. One theory is that Michael Jackson was murdered. This may sound far-fetched, but there are a few key pieces of evidence that support this claim. First of all, Michael's personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in connection with Michael's death. Murray admitted to giving Michael an overdose of propofol, but he claimed that he did so accidentally. However, many people believe that there is more to the story, and that Dr. Murray was actually hired to kill Michael Jackson. This theory is further bolstered by the fact that Michael's body was cremated just hours after he was pronounced dead. This was unusual because Michael's family is known for holding on to their loved ones for much longer. Some believe that the cremation was done to cover up evidence of foul play. Another theory is that Michael Jackson took his own life. Again, this may seem unlikely, but it's important to remember that Michael was suffering from severe depression at the time of his death. He had been accused of molesting children, and his career was in decline. Plus, he was heavily addicted to sedatives and painkillers. It's possible that Michael simply didn't see any point in living anymore. If this is true, then it's a sad commentary on the state of the music industry and society as a whole. Michael was one of the most talented musicians of all time, and he was treated like garbage in the final years of his life. So now, let's move on to the final performance of Michael Jackson. As we all know, Michael's music videos were filled with hidden messages and symbolism, so it's fitting that his final performance was no different. On March 14, 2006, Michael Jackson performed a medley of his greatest hits at the 38th Annual Grammy Awards. The show was watched by over 16 billion people worldwide, and it's considered to be one of the greatest performances of all time. But if you watch closely, you can see that there are a lot of strange things going on in the background. For example, at one point, Michael's dancers are carrying signs that say, "Heal the World." This is a reference to one of Michael's most famous songs, and it's a message of hope and unity. At another point, the dancers are carrying signs that say, "Earth Song." This is another one of Michael's songs about the environment, and it's a plea for humanity to take care of the planet. Throughout the entire performance, the dancers are also wearing outfits that resemble those of tribal people. This could be interpreted as a comment on Michael's own personal struggles. He often felt like an outsider, and he longed to connect with people on a deeper level. Unfortunately, he never really found that connection during his lifetime. But perhaps that's why his music continues to resonate with people all over the world today. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think that Michael Jackson was ahead of his time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a fascinating video.